meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. The presence of a quorum has been established and the meeting has been duly called. Notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. And as we do every regular meeting, we'll start out with a prayer and the pledge. And Mr. Martinez, it is your turn.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, on this Holy Thursday, we gather together for this meeting. We come before you with hearts filled with gratitude and reverence. We acknowledge your presence among us, guiding our discussions and decisions. As we reflect upon the events of this holiest of weeks, we are reminded of your unconditional love and the sacrifice of your Son. May his teachings of compassion, understanding, and forgiveness be our guiding light as we discuss matters concerning our educational community. As we approach the joyous celebration of Easter, may we be renewed in spirit and filled with hope for the future. Let your love inspire us to serve others selflessly and to foster an environment of growth and learning for all. Please bless this meeting with your presence and grace, and may our words and actions reflect your will. We ask for your continued guidance and blessings among our school community now and always, and we ask these things in your name. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martinez, for your prayer. We do have a little business to handle coming out of executive session, and it's regarding the superintendent's contract. Do I have a motion on that item?
Mr. President, I move we approve the superintendent's contract as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Next, we have special recognitions.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Crawford. We would like to begin the special recognition portion of our board meeting by announcing our March District Students of the Month. The elementary student of the month is Javante Wheeler, a fourth grade student at Orr Elementary School. And the secondary student of the month is Cal Wright, a sixth grade student at Three Lakes Middle School. At this time, please join us in watching a brief video about these two outstanding students.
Over the past decade, we have recognized and celebrated our District Students of the Month. These young individuals have exemplified a strong standard of achievement and perseverance in their public education career. Join us as we continue celebrating successful student outcomes. Tyler ISD is our hometown school district, and these are our District Students of the Month. Let's meet our district elementary honoree for March.
Hello, my name is Javante Wheeler. I'm the elementary student of the month for March.
Javante is a very respectful and well-mannered fifth grader at Orr Elementary School. He has his own thoughts on being a positive role model.
Act good in class, keep their grades up and pay attention, and to be kind to others, for teachers will see that.
Javante's math teacher, Mr. Muse, says he's a great example of what Orr represents.
He's always putting his best foot forward when it comes to academic excellence. His work is on time, he tests well, and he's always keeping a positive attitude.
Our district secondary honoree for March is...
My name is Cal Wright. I am the district secondary student of the month in March.
According to Cal, his Three Lakes Middle School teachers are the reason for his success.
My teacher, she's just a great example. She's always keeping the class moving, and it's always fun. And there's never a bad day in there.
When it comes to attitude and work ethic, Cal gives 100% every day.
I think the thing that impresses me most about Cal is his willingness to be open about his thinking. When thinking about the Leader in Me habits, he really exhibits habit 8, find your voice. Cal isn't afraid to speak up when something's not going well, when he's struggling with the content. And he's also always willing to help out his peers when they need support.
Let's congratulate these outstanding students as we continue to reflect successful student outcomes throughout the district. Sponsored by Christus Trinity Mother Francis Health System.
And at this time, we'd like to invite the board to come forward. And we'd now like to welcome Javante Wheeler to the front to receive his Elementary Student of the Month Award. Oh, those are awesome shoes. Congratulations. And now we would like to welcome Cal Wright to the front to receive his Secondary Student of the Month Award. And we have another student recognition this evening. We would like to recognize William Barker, a junior at Tyler Legacy High School, for earning the highest possible ACT composite score of 36. Less than 0.18% of students who take the ACT earn this top score. This is how we do it. Yeah. Very impressive. Yay. And now we're going to move on to our staff recognitions, and we would like to recognize our Elementary District Teacher of the Month, Katie Jones from Bell Elementary. And here are a few comments from her principal. With both of her parents having served as educators within Tyler ISD, teaching is deeply ingrained into Katie Jones's family's history. Drawing from her upbringing and experiences, Katie has seamlessly transitioned from being a teacher's kid to now guiding and inspiring young minds as a dedicated educator. Her unique perspective and background contribute to her empathetic approach in the classroom, allowing her to connect with students on a deeper level. Katie's openness to feedback and willingness to learn from others highlight her growth mindset and unwavering commitment to her students' success. Katie, please come on forward. Let's give her one more round of applause. And now for our Secondary District Teacher of the Month, we have Patricia Tucker from Early College High School. Mrs. Tucker has taken our participation in UIL from non-existent to a dominating force. Her success and the success of her students she leads is a great example to the outside world of the greatness that ECHS is. She and the students she brings with her are great ambassadors for our campus. In addition to UIL, Mrs. Tucker recently took on the Stock Market Challenge and led our students well in that opportunity. Mrs. Tucker is always willing to learn new technologies and strategies and employ them in her classroom. She finds ways to engage her students with the material and is extremely knowledgeable in her content. She is loved by her students and is very understanding when students need grace. Come on forward. Congratulations. Let's give her one more round of applause. And this concludes our recognitions for this evening.
I've already scored 2.
That's bad.
Okay, now we're on to our public participation portion of the meeting in which we do not have anybody participating from the public. So we're moving on to the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 8th and February 19th meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. As people file out and Dr. Crawford rejoins us, we do have a CLI Engage update.
As part of your board monitoring calendar, we have Ms. Jeannie Dykeman, one of our chief of schools, that will be providing you a CLI Engage update. This is for the little guys and their progress monitoring. Ms. Dykeman?
Yes. Good evening, President Washman, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Crawford. This is our middle of the year circle progress monitoring data from the Children's Learning Institute. This is for our pre-K and Head Start students, and it does follow the same assessment pattern as M-Class and iReady that you saw last month. There's that. This first slide is our beginning of the year to middle of year comparison. We see really outstanding growth for our early literacy skills of rapid letter naming, rapid vocabulary, and phonological awareness. A 9% increase in math. Our social emotional score did decrease a little bit, but we know that they're 4 years old, and so they're still learning behavior regulation, appropriate peer interaction. So they'll continue to grow and mature in those areas in the school community. Our early writing score stayed the same at 84%. This slide is our pre-K tuition, pre-K non-tuition, and Head Start breakdowns. Again, we see great early literacy skill growth. Our math scores did improve in every group. The early writing, we did have a slight decline in the pre-K tuition and non-tuition, but 95% and 88% for middle of the year is still a really great score. But we celebrate our Head Start students that grew 12%. Our pre-K curriculum and the Circle activity collection does differentiate lessons. So teachers are able to target the gap areas and the least developed skills. And so students are being afforded a great opportunity to learn and develop in these literacy and math skills each day. This last slide is our demographic breakdown. For our Hispanic students, at the beginning of the year, we did have some lower scores, so we certainly celebrate their great success, especially in those early literacy skills. Our African-American students did decline slightly in the phonological awareness, but that 68% was actually a 59% last year, so we are trending in the right direction. And then the early writing, again, just some slight decreases, but increase overall. For that PA score for our African-American students, we did see consistent growth across the district. They just missed the cut point score to mitigate that 3%. But again, growth across the board, they just didn't meet that benchmark score for just a few students. So we are pleased with the early literacy progress. It shows great development for the pre-reading skills and for our mission of the on 3x3 and just producing great future readers. So lots of green. We're excited about the growth. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Anybody on the board have any questions?
I have a comment. I'm glad to see the progress, but as we know, we're having difficulties with our African-American boys in reading. They are continuously behind, and phonological awareness is a precursor to being a good reader. And so even though last year you said it was 59%, that's a different group. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
And so what are we doing differently to help these students progress? I know we still have the end of the school year test to take, but it's I guess a challenge or a problem to me because it's starting young. This is the youngest, and as they're growing, we see the scores are not getting any better. So what are we doing differently so that we can have success when they get to kindergarten, first, second, and third grade?
We're doing a couple of things differently based on the data. We're going to follow the pattern of M-Class, which we are seeing that more frequent progress monitoring is alerting teachers more to some deficit areas. So we're going to increase the progress monitoring for even the pre-K students. And then they can use that activity collection from the website to target lessons that hit that skill and deficit area. For the phonological awareness, it's 4 components. And so we saw kind of the biggest dip for the alliteration. And so a lot of that is developmental, like that's just a tougher skill to really accomplish. So again, just going back to individualized lessons, making sure we progress monitor and know where the data is at on individual students. We're pulling those small groups, we're doing one-on-one tutorials and just continue to, recover their gap areas best we can.
So what does the early writing look like?
Early writing starts the year as, can they write their name? Do they recognize letters? Can they distinguish shapes from letters and things like that? Then the expectation does increase for all of these components for middle of the year. They have to score better than they did beginning at that point. And so for early writing, at this time of the year, we want them to be able to write their name, have spaces in between words, getting to the place where they can write a sentence, understand punctuation. So it's just that slow progression where they could be able to eventually write sentences and put a paragraph together.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I think, since all the school chiefs are in here in regard to this, we need to go back and make sure it's happening, is the making sure that we're going back to the science of reading where we're talking about the actual proctor of the instruction. I've got a really thick East Texas accent. Everybody in Tyler's got a thick East Texas accent. But if you're going to teach reading, you have to make sure that you're enunciating very well. So that's one thing I think we need to make sure that we focus on as we go forward, because I'm noticing more of that. I don't know why, just over the last month or two, that's a really thick accent inside of our classrooms. And so that's something I think we need to go back. We really talked about that when we brought in the Voyager Sopras. When was that? Right before the pandemic hit, I think. that was a big thing. And so I think focusing on that is something, and hearing a teacher enunciate and say the words they need to be said and have the repetitions there is going to really help us with phonological awareness as well. And I'm no
Yeah.
reading teacher expert, but that is one thing that I can say that I guarantee you that you get past I-35 and start getting over in this direction. We need to, that's an issue. And that's what the research said that. You started talking about studies that came out of Missouri, that came out of the deep South, that they saw massive improvements when their teachers really focused on enunciation. So that's going to be something that we need to probably take a look at.
Yeah, and separating those phonemes is a huge part of phonological awareness and being able to blend the sounds to make words. The Reading Horizons curriculum is very scripted in the fact that it really tries to help teachers break down phonemes, and so we've implemented that for a couple of years now, and I think it does make everyone more aware of our separation of sound.
Yeah, the public's here tonight. Whenever we brought on the Voyager stuff, before the science of reading caught on in Texas, we were doing the same thing. We were doing that already. Manny McDowell, Lindell Primary School, was a great reading teacher. And our generation of readers, because we worked on the very basics of phonological awareness and all the other things that go into that gumbo, we got away from that. The reading wars happened. There were some folks in Washington, D.C. that got a hold of reading instruction about just put a book in a kid's hand and they'll learn how to read and love to read. And then remember silent sustained reading?
Yes.
I know we still do a little bit of that, but that is the worst instructional thing you can do for a reader is, okay, everybody, we're going to have 20 minutes of silent sustained reading. Well, the 5 kids that can't read, guess what they're going to do? They're going to sit there and just look at the book. How's the teacher going to be able to? Those types of strategies took over. For 20 to 30 years, they took over our colleges of higher ed. We've talked about this before at the dais. I'm just kind of giving a review of that. And so in saying that, just make sure that we're doing the going back to the basics thing, the things that we all knew when we became really good readers. So I think you're on the right path. Just some of those little basic things, I think the board would really appreciate that.
Will do. We're also going to increase a little bit of the calibration, especially for the early writing, just making sure we're scoring and teaching right across the district.
And we are overcoming not only, local colloquialisms and just enunciations. We're trying to overcome kind of pop culture speak, as we always have, but it is...
Bruh. What are you talking about?
I mean, leaving S's off a lot of stuff. I mean, they're really, and they're,
yes.
Kids are getting more of that at home, and it's tough to overcome every day. So keep fighting, keep working on the socio-emotional stuff. My theory is every year it goes down. And I feel like the first day of school, they're in class really obeying,
sure.
and then they get comfortable and start feeling like they can kind of,
I think everybody's tired this time of year. Adults and kids, so the social emotional stuff kind of starts fraying at the seams a little bit. Those are still really high numbers. I think coming out of the pandemic, those were low, extremely low. So even though we had a dip in some of those categories, I'm pretty pleased, to be honest with you. If this translates into what's going to happen in third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade, that's good news for us, because we were not at these levels when we first introduced CLI, along with M-Class as well. So,
and still recognizing these are 4-year-old and younger children, correct?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the assessment is not a pencil to paper assessment per se. Some of it is. A lot of it is the professional expertise, being able to see how they've grown.
Right.
Kind of an old school way. There's nothing wrong with that either. You don't have to put a kid in front of a computer to take a test every day. Or every time. So I like it.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else have anything? Okay, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to business, legal, finance, consent agenda. We will definitely pull item B, as we always do, gifts and donations. And unless anybody wants to pull any other items, I'll entertain a motion on items A through G with the exception of B.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. Now, on to gifts and donations.
Mr. Washburn, on page 17 of our packet, if you'd all turn there. Sound like I'm a preacher. Turn to your hymnals. We have 5 donations. Again, the benevolent community that we have, the philanthropic community that we have to provide our students with extracurricular or co-curricular experiences that are innovative or outside the normal scope of what this board approves through its budget is incredible. And tonight we have some incredible donations to go along with some incredible reasons why and what they're going to be used for. Let's start out with the Andy Woods PTA for $36,857. That's been a multi-year adventure for them. It's ongoing to update their playground area there. We appreciate those parents and the school community there taking hold of that. That's for an upgrade for their playground improvements. They've got a pretty grand vision there. If you want to see what the vision is, go to the lobby of their campus and you'll be able to see that. The R.W. Fair Foundation for $15,000. They've increased their donation levels just about every year. And that's to provide some supplemental funding for the Tyler ISD Athletic Department Youth Basketball League. A lot of us up here have had our own kids go through that. It's a neat thing to have 8 weekends where your community gathers to go watch 600 3rd through 6th graders, Dr. Grobel, 3rd through 6th graders play basketball. We kind of tried to fill a void there because everything's gone to travel basketball. But basketball is a great sport, limited contact at that age, and surrounded by, volunteers from this community to coach and do whatnot. It's been a neat thing. So thank you, R.W. Fair Foundation. The Caldwell Arts Alliance for the Cuckoo event. We had to call the principal to find out what the Cuckoo event actually was, and it's some type of dancing troupe that comes to perform.
They play, I've seen them. They're crazy, zany guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to be Caldwell.
Yeah, they get real fired up.
The Caldwell School. It's going to be very entertaining, is what Dr. Markle said. And this the one before we get to the big one, $7,100 from the city of Tyler to the Caldwell Arts Academy. They did this to assist the city of Tyler in some of their Black History Month initiatives. And that was a pretty good partnership right there. They brought in a dance troupe from tell me what it is, Mr. Jones, the Dallas Black Dance Theater. I didn't want to call it the ballet, but it's the Dallas Black Dance Theater. That was a pretty neat little opportunity for our kids and the community to see. So appreciate City of Tyler partnering with us on that and then donating that money so we could actually run that event. And then tonight we've got an opportunity of a big check and a picture. We see our favorite guy from Cooperative Teachers Credit Union out there, Tim. Imagine seeing you here again. But this is for the Cooperative Teachers Credit Union for $38,550 just for district events. A longstanding partner here, CTCU is, and in this time we would appreciate the board taking action possibly on these, and then after that we've got a big check picture for y'all to maybe take part of.
Okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve gifts and donations.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. What a great time to live in Tyler, Texas. The azaleas are blooming. We get to sit here, school system doing well, and then we get to see the just benevolence, as you said, of the community towards its school system. And I've always said giving is a part of Tyler's DNA. It's just like this special place that just gives and gives and gives. And it's on full display here with CTCU and Andy Woods and Fair and Caldwell, City of Tyler. So let's go take a picture with a big check. Okay, thank you once again to all those organizations that donated. Continually humbled. We do have our consent agenda here, curriculum instruction. And unless anybody wants to pull any specific items, I'll entertain a motion for items A through G.
I move we approve items A through G.
Thank you. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We do have our quarterly financial executive summary and investment report. Coming up. You're okay.
Okay, I do have a few things to say this time. We're halfway through the year, so it's a good time to look at it and kind of get comfortable with the numbers. And if you go to page 34, which is the general fund revenue, I'll wait till he gets there. You'll notice that we're under a little bit on our collections, 67% versus 75. And the reasoning for that is we have less tax revenue than what was projected in the budget because we're going to have a shift to state funding. Because of the freeze on the over 65, those all got adjusted, and it was about a $6 to $7 million decrease in tax revenue, but we'll get an increase, a decrease in tax revenue, increase in state revenue. And we'll see that next September. They settle up with us at the end of the year once they know our tax collections. So it's just a shift in funding. So normally this time of year, our tax collections are 95%. Right now they're 88%. But next time you see this, I did a budget amendment tonight. So in March, when you get the financials, it'll be more even on the tax collections. Now, the general fund expenditures on page 36, they're right in line about halfway through the year. Pretty close each year because it's salaries, so it's always pretty level. And then if you turn the page for food service, the difference on this one is that their expenditures are up, and that's because they paid for all the food service equipment, or most of it, what they could, at Hubbard and Early College. And so that was a real big benefit to us. On the next page is just our interest and sinking fund, where we pay our bonds. And again, the tax collections are a little low, but it'll shift around. And the expenditures are right in line and so on. Now, if you'll go to page 42, this is our the insurance fund, health insurance. And if you'll notice in that total column, we have revenues and expenditures, and we have a $1.3 million loss right now. We've put in $2 million so far this year, and you can compare it to halfway through last year. So I'm glad we made the decision to go to TRS Healthcare, because you can tell we're going to have to put in more money again before the year's over. I need to right now because we have a loss, but I do it usually every couple of months. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Any questions on the financials?
Tasha, just for a reminder in the public and those that are watching, the decrease in your taxes was done because of a legislative,
yes,
constitutional, or it's voted upon in November.
Right.
And the way that they, after this legislative session, that's what they provided was some relief for some over 65 folks, which we all celebrate that. There was also an elevation of the homestead exemption.
Right, to 100,000. This main issue was the
over 65.
Right, because if you, like, say you're 85 and you were at a higher tax rate, now all of a sudden you've got this large $100,000 exemption, plus our tax rate's gone down, 30 or 40 cents.
Immensely, yes.
And
We
so
lowered
they
it.
had to reset anyone over 65. And it was a pretty large chunk, but they're making it up for us in state funding.
Yeah. Never going to miss an opportunity at a public meeting at the dais to talk about this last legislative session. And there's a lot of school systems that are struggling right now. They're making some pretty draconian plans across the state. Closing schools and releasing staff and things like that. Thankfully, this school board over time has allowed us to decrease the amount of operational campuses before we got into this crisis. That's really helping us out at this time. If you think about closing of Dogan and the closing of Hogg, and absorbing those students and right-sizing our schools appropriately, that has been something. Now, we did it through the strategy of we want to get every kid in a quality educational facility to educate them. But it is paying off that we're not having to carry that amount of staff.
Right.
I will say that we need to speak with our East Texas contingent and in regard to going down to this next legislative session. There's no doubt about it. There was no budget passed for schools this last time. We're still operating at a 2019 funding level. And certainly that was tied to some other distractions that were going on that were impacting those budget discussions. And we certainly are disappointed in that. And it looks like we're going to have those same conversations come this next session appropriately. But at the same time, we need to, if we're going to talk about education in Texas, then all of Texas education needs to be funded appropriately to where we can have a great education system in Texas. So you're starting to see some of those political maneuvers impacting our budgets. The next thing you'll probably wind up seeing is the actual valuations that are coming up. I don't know if you want to just give a brief, since we've got this on here, just real small snippet about what that means, Tasha.
Well, we had, the state does a property value study every year, and we get the results in January. And the state values were higher by more than 5% than our values. And what happens then is they give you 2 years of grace. So we're in year 1. And so they will automatically, in 2 years, if our values don't rise up, they will make our local share be equal to the state. And so we will have a decrease in state funding automatically. And we are not seeing the tax revenue to offset it. I expect to see values go up this year. They have every year. But I don't have any estimates yet. I'll get those probably mid-April. And then in May or June, I'm not sure when, we'll be coming to you with a budget once we know that.
Now, you've got somebody sitting to your left right there that understands some of this Robin Hood stuff. Are we in a situation to where that they want our values high, but our student enrollment does not hit that right threshold to realize those values? Or why is that going to be impactful for us? A higher value, you think higher values, even with a lower tax rate, is still going to bring you more money, but it's not.
No.
Right, okay.
Because it impacts our local share, even though we are not getting the money for it. And so they decrease the state funding based on what the state values are versus what our local values were. And it's quite significant. And so they're bringing some consultants in to review, and it's mainly on commercial property, not residential.
A byproduct
apartments
of the maneuvering that's going on right now is they have switched the appraisal district board to elected positions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be coming out. Usually each taxing jurisdiction appointed, and now they're going to be going to that direction as well. So there's a lot of gamesmanship within the statesmanship that's going on. And just want to make sure we're keeping y'all apprised of some of the political atmosphere that's out there that's going to wind up impacting our budget. Again, we're given a grace for 2 years. We're in pretty good shape for this upcoming year. Tasha's working on the budget right now. It's going to be the following year that's going to be something to where we're going to really have to work at.
Exactly.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? I'll refrain from commenting on the appraisal values and everything like that. Okay. What else do we have? We got future business. April 4th, we have a board workshop. April 15th, we have another regular meeting, back on the Monday schedule. This is kind of a one-off random Thursday because we thought we had a participation issues Monday, so we got moved to today. And having said that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, and this meeting is adjourned.